Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be solving the Hanayama Dice Puzzle. Now, it feels like I've said this quite a lot because Hanayama bring out quite a lot of puzzles, or a few puzzles a year, but this is the newest Hanayama puzzle. It is a level 3 in difficulty, that is out of 6 on the Hanayama difficulty scale. And as always with the Hanayama puzzles, our aim is to disassemble the 4 dice puzzle pieces and then to reassemble it back into its original position. And once we've done that, we're then going to place the dice puzzle on my own difficulty leaderboard, which we have brought back, seeing as that we are solving now from the main Hanayama collection again. And because we've actually solved the two most recent Hanayamas before the dice puzzle without placing them on the leaderboard, we're then going to place those 2 puzzles on the leaderboard at the end as well. But first, let's get on with solving the dice puzzle. Okay, so here is the dice puzzle, and yeah, it looks all very complicated. We'll have a quick look at the box before we have a proper look at it. So obviously we're aiming for, well, to get this into these 4 pieces. Unfortunately, no clues here. The only words I understand are Timothy Collins, who is probably the person who designed this one. Yeah, so our aim is to take this dice apart, and it seems fairly loose at the minute. Yeah, like things are falling down and almost twisting around in this position. And there's no real like definitive thing between them. Obviously on a dice you have numbers 1 to 6, but on this it's all just one gap or one circle. Which, looking at it, they all look exactly the same, so it doesn't seem as if we can distinguish between the 3 pieces that are in the middle in that way. But obviously we can drop down quite a lot in here, and then we can see down the middle, and then we can sort of rotate the pieces a little bit. Let's have a quick look at the box again actually. So looking at these pieces, these 3 pieces look exactly the same from the box, which means that it probably doesn't matter like which bit we start with. Like, it's not going to be a set number of moves that has to be started with, like this one versus this one, for example. But at the minute, it just seems a bit all over the place in terms of the moves. I mean, everything's well out of place right now. And this seems, we can now sort of, here we go. So we've twisted it around. And yeah, I think there we go for solving it. Get that bit out there and that bit out there. Right, so I don't think that was the challenging part. I think the challenging part is going to be reassembling these 4 pieces. And yeah, based on how I just took it apart, I've not really got an idea of how we're going to start doing that. I didn't pay much attention to what was happening. It was more just, right, everything seems looser here, everything seems looser here. And now they've fallen apart. But yeah, there we go. Well, we've done the first half, but I doubt that that's the first half in terms of time. So now what we'll do is put it back together. Okay, so I guess we start with just sticking 1 piece in, trying to get a 2nd piece in. I'm not sure whether we like swapped sides on any of the pieces, but obviously I guess the good thing is that, well, I don't know whether there's any good things about this actually, because I've no idea how it happened. So, well, I guess in theory we've got those 2 pieces in place now, and now our aim is just to get this piece through that gap. And I guess how we do that is the challenge. Here we go. Oh no. I thought I'd done it then, but this piece has not got around that bit there. So maybe what we need to do is, instead of sort of, like, we've got these 2 in place here, and then my aim has sort of been to try and get this one straight through, wiggle through and get it to this position. But maybe we don't do that. Maybe we sort of like come in and around into one position and then sort of work it around into another. So maybe we like go in here and then end up vertical, if that makes sense. Like that, is it? Yes, there we go. Yeah, I think that's done. Pretty sure that's done. That does seem a little bit loose. Is that done? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're done. We've got it back into that position. It just seems very, very loose in that position. But I think it was anyway. But there we go. So that little tweak of sort of thinking, right, instead of trying to get this one in place this way, this one in place this way, and then trying to get the third one all the way across, we sort of had one in position and then two sort of here, and we sort of twisted them around each other. And that was what cracked it in the end. And that is the Hanayama Dice Puzzle solved. So there we go, we managed to solve it pretty quick in terms of, well, both. We solved it, or took it apart very, very quickly, and we reassembled it in a pretty quick time as well, given that it's a level 3. It's extremely sort of loose, the dice puzzle. It's extremely fiddly, especially when you're trying to put it back together. When you're taking it apart, it almost feels like you could do it by accident, or you're pretty much almost gonna do it by accident, in terms of just move things around until something slips out and falls. So reassembling it definitely is the challenge with this one, or the bigger challenge. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's gonna be interesting to find out like the most efficient route to reassembling and disassembling this puzzle. But before we get into that, we need to place the dice, as well as 2 other Hanayama puzzles, on the leaderboard. Now, the 2 puzzles that we've solved most recently without placing them on the leaderboard are the love puzzle and the cyclone puzzle. And we did them in that order, so we're going to place them in that order. So we'll start with the heart puzzle. Now, this one is a level 1. Given the box, we can see that. And to be honest, this is a very, very simple one. In terms of ranking it or placing it on the leaderboard, we're going to be very much at the bottom. So this is sort of akin to the loop and the diamond puzzle. It's just a case of, right, which one's the easiest? Now, it's much easier doing this one having solved those 2 previously, but does that make it the easiest? I'm not too sure. I think it's actually probably the hardest one in terms of the position to find to solve this one. So yeah, that's nice and easy. The love puzzle is going to go between the diamond and the flag puzzle. Next, we've got the level 5 Cyclone puzzle. Now, we don't have a box for the Cyclone because we were lucky enough to get a pre-production copy of the Cyclone, which has a slightly different finish, a more of a rough finish than the production model. But this one was very tough. This one, we are looking top 2 shelves. This is probably the first time we've placed puzzles on the leaderboard not immediately after solving them, so this has been a good few months between solving the love, this one, and now. So that will play a factor in this process, but yeah, we'll start at the top one, or the top 2 rows. We're definitely harder than the infinity. We are harder than the heart puzzle. If we jump right up to the top, we are probably easier than the equal puzzle. We go to the end of the top row. Are we easier or harder than the cylinder? I think we're easier than the cylinder. I mean, it's a very, very long time ago that we solved the cylinder, but that was a tough one. And one of my favourites. I think that might be it. I think we're harder than the padlock, but we're easier than the cylinder, which is nice and convenient for placing it on the leaderboard. And now for the dice puzzle, the one that we've just solved. Here we're probably looking lower mid sort of region, maybe even, yeah, probably bottom 2 rows, if not bottom row. If we start at the start of the 3rd row, we're definitely easier than the S&S, probably easier than the news puzzle. I think we're easier than the snow puzzle, but tougher than anything on the bottom row. So we're looking this area. I think we're probably harder than the star, which puts us, yeah, here, between the star and the snow puzzle. And there we go, job's done. That is everything we set out to do. We solved the dice puzzle, we took it apart, we put it back together, and we've placed the 3 puzzles that weren't on the leaderboard on the leaderboard. Thank you very much for being here. If you want to see me solve more of these Hanayama puzzles or the step-by-step solutions to each and every one of them, then be sure to click my face here, and I'll see you next time. Peace!